Late night break-in. Miles Wei finds Shinyu's apartment door forced open. What he saw inside froze him. The city was asleep, but the night had teeth. A cold wind dragged itself through the narrow streets outside Shinyu's apartment complex, carrying with it a strange, metallic scent, like the faint trace of something broken. Or something about to be broken. Inside the elevator, Miles Wei stood rigid, chest tight, heart hammering in a rhythm he couldn't slow down. Shinyu hadn't responded to a single message for almost 2 hours. Not a voice note. Not even a read receipt. That alone was alarming. But the call he received minutes earlier, the one where someone breathed into the phone before the line cut, shattered every boundary between fear and instinct. Tonight felt different.
Wrong.
Dangerous. The elevator dinged. He stepped out. And that was when the world tilted. Her apartment door was wide open. Forced open. Splintered near the lock like someone had kicked it with a fury strong enough to silence anyone inside. Miles didn't even realize he'd dropped the bag in his right hand. His body simply moved, pushing the door with one finger, half expecting it to creak or fall off its hinges entirely. Inside was silence, but not the peaceful kind. This silence vibrated. It breathed. It waited. He stepped in slowly, his voice low and shaking. You? Shinyu, are you here? Nothing. Only the eerie echo of his own voice sinking into the darkness. The lights were off. The curtains were drawn, as if someone had tried to keep what happened inside from spilling into the city outside. Then he saw it. A chair overturned. A broken glass on the floor. And her phone, cracked, lying face down near the sofa, screen still glowing with the missed calls he made. Miles' breath caught. This wasn't random. This wasn't accidental. Someone had been inside her home. Someone who knew she lived alone. Someone who knew how to get in, how to move, how to hide their presence. Then a sound.
Soft. Wet.
Like breathing, but painfully shallow. Miles spun toward the hallway. And there she was.
Shen Yue.
Sitting on the floor. Her back against the wall.
Her knees pulled to her chest.
Her face drenched in tears. But what made Miles' heart almost stop was the look in her eyes. Wide, bloodshot, unfocused, trembling like she had just seen something she couldn't ever speak about. She flinched when she saw him. Miles, don't come closer. He dropped to his knees anyway. What happened? Who did this? Did someone? She shook her head violently, pressing her palms over her ears as though trying to block out a sound she could still hear. He was here, she whispered. He came inside, he watched me as I slept. Miles felt the floor vanish beneath him. He walked through my living room, she choked. He touched things. He left things. He whispered my name. A chill shot through his spine. Miles, he was 5 steps away from my bed. That's when he saw it. On the wall beside her, scratched in something sharp, jagged, deliberate, don't run. I'm not done. Miles stood up so fast the air vibrated around him. The temperature in the apartment seemed to drop, a creeping cold that danced over his skin like a threat. This wasn't a stalker anymore. This was a hunter. He helped Shinyu to her feet gently, keeping his hands steady even though his heart was anything but. She was trembling so hard her teeth clicked. Did you see his face? Miles whispered. She shook her head. He wore a hood, a mask. But his shoes? I recognized the sound. He's been following me for weeks. I kept hearing footsteps behind me at night.
Slow.
Heavy. Her voice cracked. I thought I was imagining it. Miles clenched his jaw. This has gone far enough. I'm calling the police. No, she shouted, gripping his wrist with surprising strength. Miles, don't. You don't understand. If the police get involved, he'll come back. Worse. He said he would hurt someone else. Someone I care about. Miles froze. Me? She lowered her gaze. Tears fell onto her hands. Yes. That was it. The final thread snapped. He stood and scanned the room again, this time with the eyes of someone who was no longer operating on fear, but fury. The stalker had been here, inside, touching her belongings, leaving a mark on the wall, leaving a psychological wound 10 times deeper. Miles felt something inside him ignite. Dark, sharp, protective. "We're not staying here," he said firmly. "Get what you need. We're leaving now." Shen Yue hesitated. But no argument. His voice dropped. "You're not spending one more second in this place." She moved shakily toward her bedroom. But Miles' instincts kicked in. He grabbed her arm. "Wait." He walked ahead of her, pushing the door open. The room was dim. The curtains fluttered slightly even though no window was open. And on the pillow, neatly placed, as though arranged with care, a single black glove. Not hers. Not from the house. Not random. Miles exhaled sharply, rage burning so hot it made his hands shake. "You," he whispered. He was standing right next to your bed. Shen Yu's knees buckled. He caught her before she hit the floor. The glove seemed to stare back at him, like an invitation. Or a warning. Or both. He covered it with a tissue, picked it up carefully, and placed it inside a plastic bag from her drawer. Shinyu clung to his shirt. What if he comes back tonight?" she whispered. "He won't." Miles' voice went dangerously low. "Because you won't be here. And because I'll make sure he never comes near you again." There was no room for softness anymore. No room for pretending everything was fine. This was real. This was escalating. This was a nightmare unfolding with frightening precision. And the worst part? The break-in wasn't the end. The stalker wasn't finished. The message on the wall wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Miles guided her out of the apartment, keeping one arm around her as they stepped into the hallway. But just as he locked the broken door behind them, just as Shinyu wiped her cheeks with trembling hands, something slid out from under the door and landed on the floor at their feet. A Polaroid. Miles picked it up. His blood turned to ice. It was a picture of Shinyu sleeping, taken from inside her bedroom, from the foot of her bed, 2 nights ago. On the back, in messy ink, "I like watching her breathe." Miles stared at it, jaw tightening, heartbeat thundering. This stalker wasn't afraid. This stalker wasn't hiding. This stalker wanted them to know he was close. Closer than either of them realized. And something inside Miles' way shifted forever. He wasn't just protecting her. He was hunting the man who hunted her. And this time, he wouldn't wait for the police. He wouldn't wait for permission. He wouldn't wait for anyone. Tonight was the first night. The hallway was too quiet, too empty, too still for what had just happened inside that apartment. Miles held the Polaroid in one hand, Shinyu's trembling fingers in the other, as they walked toward the elevator. Every step felt like stepping deeper into a shadow that refused to let them go. Shinyu kept glancing over her shoulder, flinching at every sound. The click of the elevator button, the hum of the fluorescent lights, even the distant slam of a neighbor's door. Her body moved like a ghost, jittery and fragile, as though the wrong sound might shatter her completely. "Miles," she whispered. "What if he's still here? Somewhere in the building?" Miles tightened his grip. "Let him be," he said darkly. "I'm done letting him play games." The elevator doors slid open. They stepped inside. But as the doors began to close, a shadow moved at the end of the hall. A tall silhouette, standing completely still, facing them. Shinyu's hand flew to her mouth, her breath choking out in a soft cry. Miles lunged forward, slamming the open button, but the doors closed before he reached them. Who was that?
Shinyu gasped.
Miles stared at the steel doors, jaw tight enough to crack. He didn't want to answer, because deep down he knew. The stalker didn't just break in. He was watching them leave. The elevator descended, each floor passing with a metallic groan. Shinyu grabbed the rail, her knees weakening again. "I can't stay here," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper. "I can't go back." "Miles, what if he comes again? What if next time?" Miles stepped closer. "You're safe now. I promise you." She looked up at him, tears gathering again. "You can't promise that. You saw the message on the wall. He's not afraid, Miles. He's enjoying this." Miles didn't reply. He couldn't, because she was right. The break-in wasn't panic. It was art to the man who did it, calculated, controlled, confident. The glove on the pillow. The picture under the door. The carved thread on the wall. The stalker wasn't rushing. He was rehearsing. The elevator reached the ground floor with a soft chime. But the moment the doors opened, Miles froze. The lobby lights were dimmer than usual. Only half the bulbs were on, casting long shadows across the marble floor. The security desk was empty. The night guard was nowhere to be seen. Shen Yue's voice cracked. "Where is he?" "He's always here at night." Miles scanned the desk. The guard's radio was still on. Coffee cup tipped over. A flashlight lying on the ground beside the chair. Something cold crawled down his spine. "Miles," Shen Yue whispered. "What if he—" "No," he held up a hand. "Don't.
We don't know that."
But the tremor in his voice betrayed him. This wasn't coincidence. Not tonight. Not after the break-in. They reached the glass doors that opened to the parking lot. Outside, the night pressed against the glass like a living thing, dark, heavy, and waiting. Miles led her to the car, but halfway there, Shen Yue stopped. "Miles, look." She pointed to a nearby car window. And there, etched into the dust with a fingertip, were 4 simple words: "She saw me first." Shen Yue staggered backward. Miles grabbed her before she fell. The message wasn't for her. It was for him. The stalker was taunting him now, pushing him, provoking him, drawing him deeper into this twisted chase. Miles clenched his fists, fury rising like fire in his chest. This man wasn't scared of getting caught. He was smarter, faster, and far more obsessed than they realized. "Get in the car," Miles said, pulling her close.
"Now."
As they drove off, Shen Yue kept her hands tightly wrapped around her seat belt, knuckles white, breath shaky. For the first few minutes, neither of them spoke. Then, "Miles, I didn't tell you everything." The car swerved slightly as he turned to her. "What do you mean?" Her lips trembled. "He didn't just watch me sleep tonight." Miles felt his pulse spike. He spoke," Shen Yue whispered. "I woke up because he was whispering something."
Miles leaned in.
"What did he say?" She swallowed hard, her voice barely a breath. He said, "Don't tell Miles what you saw, or I'll show you what fear really feels like." Silence filled the car. A horrible, suffocating silence. "He said my name?" Miles asked, stunned. Shen Yue nodded, tears spilling again.
"He knows you."
"He knows your name, he knows who you are." Miles gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned pale. This wasn't just obsession. This was personal. The stalker didn't only target Shen Yue. He was watching Miles too. Following him. Studying him. Planning around him. Miles exhaled slowly. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" "Because he told me not to," she cried. "He said he would hurt you if I said anything. And I thought maybe if I just stayed quiet, maybe it would be enough to keep you safe." Miles shook his head.
"No."
"No, you. Silence is exactly what he wants." He pulled into an empty roadside stop, put the car in park, and turned fully to her. "I don't care what he said. You're not protecting me. We protect each other." Shen Yue's tears fell harder, her breath breaking apart. "I'm so scared, Miles. I didn't know who to trust." He reached out and cupped her face gently. "You trust me," he whispered. "And I trust you." That's how we beat him. She nodded against his hand. But then, a sudden noise behind them. A loud, sharp tap on the rear windshield. Shen Yue screamed. Miles whipped around. The glass was fogged from the inside of the car, but on the outside a handprint.
Fresh.
Pressed against the glass. Shen Yue's entire body shook. Miles slowly stepped out of the car, scanning the darkness. No movement. No footsteps. No figure. But the handprint was unmistakable. He was here. He'd been inches away, watching them drive, following them in the dark. Close enough to touch the car. Close enough to touch them. Miles' breath turned to smoke in the cold air as he whispered to himself, "This ends tonight." He turned back toward the car where Shinyu sat, her eyes wide and terrified, her fingers pressed against her mouth. The stalker wasn't running anymore. He was escalating. And Miles Way, now fully aware of the game, was about to become more dangerous than the man stalking them. Tonight wasn't about fear. Tonight was the beginning of a war neither of them asked for. But one Miles was now ready to finish.